Welcome back to another review and feedback. I actually have a user submitted one. They submitted on the All Things Terran forum, so we'll be watching a Terran game. And I'm going to flip us over to the screen so you can see what they said. I have a replay you might like to cast. They obviously gave us the link. I'm not used to being so active, so SCV management and all sorts of things are terrible, but it's a fun one despite the loss. Calling it TV Storm. Or versus Storm. It's the first game I've been able to get some EMPs off, but I didn't split or even really react to the storms at all. Haha. Probably had at least 4 opportunities to win the game, but didn't capitalize them. I could have also been way more annoying with my drops. So, what that tells me is that you have gone through and watched your game. Excellent. First and foremost, that's awesome. I love it. I want to see it. I like to hear it. It means that you're being thinking about what went wrong, what went well, what you could have done to do better. You're getting a better understanding of the game and why you could have won, and looking for those opportunities to win. So maybe you jump on them the next time that something similar appears or something like it is going to happen. That being said, I know we all want to watch the game. We want to get in there. We're going to watch it primarily from the Terran perspective, kind of picking all the things that we can that have opportunities to improve. And of course, we'll go through and we'll talk about the good and the bad, and of course, try and enjoy the replay. Sorry, I tripped over myself there a little bit. All right, here we go. We're going to launch it into StarCraft. And I appreciate the submission. It's awesome to see that. They are Plat1 going against a Diamond 3 player. It looks like a little bit of a longer game, so we're not going to spend an enormous amount of time at certain points. We'll fast forward when it makes sense. But it's awesome to hear that we're getting into late game tech, doing all those kind of things that are Terran, and going to make it so that we're a better player by practicing those hard to get to skills, and of course doing it later. First and foremost, let's talk about our 2 players. We have SpaceTime, the person who has submitted in the upper right-hand corner in the red. They have started off with a supply depot at the wall. We're going to jump back in just a second to go look at that and see the timing. On the opposite side of the map, we have in purple, or sorry, blue, not purple. Whoa! Blue is the Protoss Preem. Or Preem? Preem? I think that's Preem. All right, sorry, we are gonna jump right on back to that first supply depot drop. It's gonna be about 20 seconds, very early in the game, because I just want to see how much we're floating when that SCV gets there. So we've send our SCV across. We have another SCV under production, and we're getting ready to put it down. This is wonderful. You got the 0 resources. That means you have figured out the exact distance to run from your supply command center to the entrance to your base to put that supply depot down. Just so you know, for those of you that aren't aware, that if you actually rally from your command center to the top of your ramp on almost every single player map currently, it ends up being within 5 minerals, which is perfectly fine. That's great. We like to see that. And then we see a pre-move on the SCV. Whoa! Look at that. Okay, that's a pretty solid build order. I mean, Platinum, don't get me wrong, you can certainly do those things. We have a supply, or an SCV on Scout. I like to grab one of the SCVs on the long mineral patches and send it instead, but this is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with this play. The timing is like about a half a second to a second and a half faster if you send it from the mineral line, because you set it up so it rallies, gets the mineral return, and then goes. Aside from that, looks pretty normal. This Protoss has grabbed 2 gases. Excuse me, has grabbed 2 gases, which is a very inefficient build, and is not even mining from them entirely. So this gateway could have gone down earlier. This cybernetics core could have gone down earlier. This pylon could have gone down earlier, because as of right now, all 3 of these probes could have been on the assimilators. I understand if you're going to defend it, but instead of spending the resources, take this probe that's running around building buildings, and once you see that SCV walk into your base or drone or whatever, or other probe, you literally send your probe over to the over to the gas geyser. You can hug the gas geyser, like right here. There's like a lot of places you can hug it, and you just put it on hold position. Once it's on hold position, no matter how many times they try to build it, they can't build that structure there. If they start to attack your worker, if you're a lower ranked player, anybody under diamond, basically is when I say that, requires a little bit more micro. What you do is you grab a couple of your workers, preferably the 2 close ones, and then you click on that unit, and then you will not be able to have them break that, and you'll be able to do it fast. On the other side of the map, we have a wall off. Close your gate. Make sure he doesn't get in. You don't want him having any information. If you see it, you have to be really attentive to what's going on. Generally speaking, you want to send your Reaper across the map, and or you want to put your worker in positions where you're going to see what your opponent's doing and what they're looking for. So you're explicitly trying to see the timing of a natural. If it's already down, awesome. If it's not down yet, then you need to like put a patrol over your SCV right here. This is a two-base build, or a two-gate build, very, very inefficient, which means that if you get your Reaper across the map, which is fine if you don't, you would find out that they're doing this. You know that they're going to be really aggressive. Ooh, oversaturation on the gas. That's never fun. You could see this worker at all times idling. Obviously, I'm not talking about the Terran right this moment, but I'm just saying that they're gonna. This is a more aggressive build, and this next eye shows up a little bit later. And being able to patrol with your SCV around here slows it down even further, which gives you a bigger gap for them having to either commit as an all-in with their two gates, or you make it so that they are slower, so that their macro is going to be behind yours even further than they already are. Don't need two bunkers. I would put. The way you want to position your bunkers is either where they can't run by it, meaning that you place it like right here in the mineral line, so that, and then you keep all your SCVs close. So that way, if they put a stalker back here, you're good, and they cannot push through the wall, and you can close your supply depot so that stalker or adept or zealot can't make it up the ramp without being hit by that bunker. Or you place it up front, and you can do a complete wall off of supply depots very early. This wall off supply depot dealio is really good at the lower ranks, but at higher levels it falls off very, very hard, because then they'll just pick off the supply depots that are off to the side. And you usually want to have like your military units closer over here, so that if you get an oracle or something, you can unload and run inside. I do like the Cyclone choice, but I would place it in your mineral line, since you're going to be defending against air attacks. Obviously it's a Phoenix, they're scouting. You know it is now just a scout to see what's going on. They see that you're double bunkering. Again, inefficient. We talked about that. I'm not going to harp on it. Next piece is if you're building bio, where are your tech labs to get yourself the two things that you care most about, which is stim and combat shields. With 3 racks at this point in the game, you need to be spending these resources that you have up here. See, I'm going to pause it for just a second. I know music sounded really intense. But you see all these resources right here. That's either a command center, both combat shield and stim, and 2 more medevacs, or it's another factory or another starport, or your engineering bay +1/+1 can come out of this. You have a lot of floating resources. So this inefficiency right here, combined with this inefficiency right here, just fixing that, so you have a 3 rack with double reactor and 1 tech lab with stim on the way, and then 2 and then have a reactor off of your factory into a starport that goes into makes double medevacs for 4 medevacs, and then gives you Vikings or Liberators based off of what you scout when you attack for the first time at about 4:45, 4:30, which you're doing right about now. 5 minutes in that area, which I love this play. This is really smart. Widowmine play is a lot harder to deal with usually, because you just get in this line, and you can, like, if they don't micro it properly, you can get like half the probes. And then you have a medevac, so you jump in, grab them, you try and grab them on your way out, and you don't lose the medevac. On the backside, you're just building a bunch of bio. I digress. The point that I'm attempting to articulate is that, why am I using big words? That's silly of me. My point is that you're floating a lot of resources. Make sure that you have things that are under construction, or that are available to construct, specifically these engineering bay, is giving you upgrades that are going to be valuable. You clearly want to go bio, so get your tech lab and your second reactor, or get double reactor and get a bunch of marauders under construction, getting your concussive shell and your stem. That kind of combination with those 3 together and medevacs, you can just absolutely roll a lot of Terran, or a lot of Protosses with that kind of unit composition. And you want to, when you get ready to go on that first attack, right now, basically, if you haven't been keeping up with your money, get down another starport immediately. Look how far these have to fly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 14 seconds of non-production once these are done. The same thing with these deals. If you're using these to produce stuff, awesome. then make sure that you're lifting immediately, and these guys should have lifted and landed here as soon as you could. My point being is like, I like the tech swap. I like the concept that you're pursuing. I just want you to be aware of how much money you're floating, how long it's taking you to get there. So this hit, while it's going to be very, very powerful against stalkers, is going to be very late, and will do some damage, but not as much as if it hit literally a full 45 seconds to a minute ago, or if you had a frontal attack almost a full minute ago with about 30-ish units, with 4 of them, or 2 of them being medevacs to 4 of them being medevacs. Your opponent's slow to pull. I'm slow to pull. That's one of my problems, I promise. You did some decent damage. Time to get out. Or you could fight the stalkers. It's up to you. I see you chose to get out. With the fighting the stalkers, you're going to put yourself in a very vulnerable position. I do like the play. 0 losses for doing 6 kills is awesome. Or 5 kills because you killed that 1 probe earlier. Supply depot wall is kind of weird. It's okay to do this kind of thing. Sure, not a big deal. But you can make it so it's smaller here, and you have fewer vulnerable supply depots if you put some back here. Or when you have that next base coming up, you can create a wall to make it so that run-bys are having a lot harder of a time. So what I'm trying to say is that basically your SimCity needs a little bit of work. It's not terrible. You got great concepts. You just need to refine it a little bit, and you'll do a lot better. You're way oversaturated on your natural, a little undersaturated in your main. That being said, it's okay because when you land that third, which you should have under construction or already constructed at this point in the game, your opponent already has their third mining, right? You should have your third up. Or you need to have a timing attack and have everything go, sell these bunkers, take a bunch of these workers and go kill them, right? Like, you need to hit really, really decisively, or you're gonna start falling behind. Which is why I'm kind of, hey, be aware of these kind of things, pay attention. This is how you get yourself in a great position. Reapers are fun. Send your Reaper to the back of the mineral line by queuing it around. Have this army fight, like, cutting off this section so that your opponent can't run their unit up here and your Reaper just gets a bunch of kills. I'm not saying continue to build Reapers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if your Reaper survives, that's a great way to make it get value add. You also send it around inside the base and see what they have, right? Having these 4 stalkers in the base means that they're a lot weaker here. That's a good tank placement. I like it a lot, but you need to defend it. You want to make sure that you're in a... Ooh, nice. You did dodge a storm. You were saying you were having trouble with it. Did a really good job with it. I like this. Instead of using the scan, put 1 medevac, like, right here, and put... Ooh, don't load up. No, you're defending your tank. You want your tank to be, like, in a great position. Only other option is Doom Drop to end the game. And without anything protecting this tank, unsiege it and send it home. Oh my gosh, you're doing it right now, aren't you? Oh, called that out. Nice job. You kind of, like, got them in a situation where they were like, oh no, how do I deal with this? I would shoot down the pylons. Kill the pylons so they can't produce anything. And then that slows them down so very much. They did a recall. Get your stuff out or get it closer to kill the things that are there, that are coming out. I like the get out decision, but you need to get out. You don't not, when you do that, you need to immediately be moving. I do like this play as well. This is a really cool idea. I don't have any issues with what you've done, but imagine if they could build 2 less zealots because you killed the 2 pylons that are associated with it. At this point, going home is the best play. Really good call. They didn't get blink. Which, if you're playing against somebody that's a little bit better, they will have either blink or charge or both at this point in the game. At this point, I think they'll have both. Your opponent is going to be very, very tanky here. Like, you didn't need to kill that assimilator. Like, yeah, okay, fine. It's against somebody that's a higher level, it would hurt. But against this kind of player, which you don't know until you're playing them, right? You're not really hurting them that bad. Stopping the production would have been way more efficient. Like 300 health versus 200. You could have gotten both those pylons in addition to the other stuff you got, and that would have slowed him down on production and made it so that you're good to go. I like this. I like what you're doing. I would be ever so slightly cautious here. Nope, you ran into it. No, back away! Ah! Oh, I can see why you're saying you struggle with the storms. So this is where your medevac count is a little low. You should have, at this point, at least 4 to 6. And even then, I would say, based off of your army composition, and you know that they have storm, that you want to have probably 8 to 10 medevacs. Also, a move, just a move the army. Don't move it, right? So a lot of the time, you're going to click an A click to do things. All right, things that I notice. We're about halfway through the game. Your upgrades for 1-1 are done, but you haven't continued to get 2-2. You are spending your money really effectively, but the reason is that you're spending it so effectively is because you're not gathering enough. It's not because you have excess income and you're just fighting back and forth and you're blowing your income and you're maxing out and you're remaxing and stuff like that. What's happened is that when we were back at minute 5, when you did that first attack, which would kept your opponent at home, you didn't have that other command center here. And that would have made it so you're way, way, way better off. You have idle workers. You have idle upgrades. We know that was happening, right? Marauder upgrade isn't done. Your army is mostly Marines, and you know they're going to do storms. So we have, 4 or 5 Marauders. This should probably be like 10 to 12 Marauders. So if you cut maybe that many Marines and did Marauders instead, this army against Protoss is so much more powerful. The reason is Marauders are tanky. They can tank a storm. They also shut down charge lots. Not 100%, but in comparison, they do a lot better against them. So you want to have your army composition needs to be much heavier with regards to, I like this setup. This is cool. But you need to have more medevacs. You need to have it over here, and you need to be scanning. Like you need to just know that this is coming. While this is happening, go in. Nice. I love it. The storm hurts so much. If you can get the tank to focus down those High Templar. Oh my god, 14-4, one of them. Focus down the pylons. Pylon. Because this entire warp-end would have been shut down completely. This fight, you'd have been able to force them to do it again. Get the siege tank sieged if you're going to continue to stay, which it looks like you're going to. You just... getting rid of the pylons against Protoss is so, in your situation, is super valuable. I like this. I like the choice to get out and continue to fight. Do not fly over his cannons. No. Oh, no. That's 3 medevacs that are so valuable for you right now. At this point, you need another starport. Also, you completely removed all your workers here and overcompensated and oversaturated here. You did notice it. Nice. You're undersaturated here still. These are still idle. I like the fact that you have almost max supply available. Build another 2 command center. Right? You need to just get yourself in a situation where you have the income to completely crush your opponent, because that's what you did a really, really good job of hurting your opponent here, reducing their income, making it so that they still have a soft spot available to you later on, which honestly you've hit it 2 times now. I probably won't touch it again. I would probably look over here, look for DT Shrine. I'd be looking to see if you could split your opponent in the middle, put tank. If you can tank 1, 2, 3, maybe 1, 2, 3 tanks, 4 tanks right here, and then have your army kind of pushing over here, and then as they come to respond, you push back. You can really, 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 really mess up your opponent. I am very surprised that actually this became a loss, other than the fact that you were really slow for your 3rd. And honestly, you should be on a 5th by this point. The best way that I have learned to play is you want your first 2 expansions basically as fast as you can with a Reaper. That's basically what you want to do, give or take a little bit. Also, if you see this big old red thing on your mini-map, scan it. It's also okay not to stim against Storm. That gives your units a lot more health. It makes it so your opponent is going to struggle a lot more to get through their health pool. You have... well, you did have scans. I think you used them all. Okay, you have 1 scan that's about to come up. So scan this, take this stuff, and go kill it, right? You don't need to drop, right? If you just run this over there, you'd have been able to do a lot more than dropping, right? Because these Zealots are fighting one-on-one, essentially, with these Marines at first. Back to this focus. Storms are really killing you. Back out, back out, back out. I know that you're focused on the other stuff that's happening over there. The tanks are doing so much work. If they were all in siege, that one's not in siege. That's going to hurt a lot. You have the army composition. You have the ability to crush it. All of your army, F2. This is an F2 moment. F2 attack, right? Because you want to kill all of that army. You don't want to get these out of here. F2. Those should be salvaged already. You needed the money way earlier, right? You were in a situation where you had no third, and you were starving for cash. Salvage. They don't give you a ton of money, but 75% of their cost, which is 75 minerals, 150 minerals is 3 Marines or a Marauder and a Marine, which is very that can be game changing, especially if you're or it's most of a command center. So those kind of things are important. You can see that your gas balance, gas mineral balance is way off, and that's just simply because you don't have enough bases. You should have this base, maybe this base, definitely this base. So sorry, back to you were getting ready to go into combat when I started talking about my philosophy with bases. The first 2 bases you get down basically as fast as you can. The third base goes down right around the 5-minute mark. You want to be attacking in front of that build. That 5-minute mark is kind of an interesting spot because it's when you should be fully saturated if you're continuously building workers. After that, every single time you finish a base, unless you're trying to do a timing attack or your opponent is you don't have enough production or something, you need another base under construction. This one finishes, next one goes down. As a Terran, the benefit is you get way more mules. You can literally just build 20 orbitals, which is amazing because you no longer need SCVs at that point other than for your gas, and you can just mule everything. Or you put planetaries and make it so that your opponent loses a lot of units, and you can start to counter those units by transitioning into BCs or something along those lines. You also know about sensor towers. You have a really good, that was a good choice right there. It's time to put up another one over here so that way you could protect those other bases that you're going to expand into. I like the ghost move in. Before we get into this fight, let's look at how our hotkeys are set up. You don't have a hotkey for your army. It's not hotkeyed. As your army finishes, part of your macro cycle should be adding units to your hotkeys. Ghosts have priority over Marines, Marauders, tanks, medevacs, yada, yada, yada. They are your top priority, I believe, other than Ravens and battle cruisers, ? I don't know the exact order. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you. Point being is that they are very, very, very high priority when you make a selection. So when you select these units, this composition of units, you can see that it always starts on Ghost, which means that stim is hidden behind. You have to tab into it to get to that army to stim it. So what you want to do is, I can see that your hotkeys are set up as a 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have 1, 2, and 3 that are open. 3, I would probably make your supply wall. That way you can quick click your other button, the close button, which is R in my setup. You can see it right there. Oop, other direction, right there. And that way, if you see a zealot run by coming, you just go hit, raise, done. The other bit is that you want to have your spellcasters, generally speaking, on another hotkey. So, your number 1 should be your spellcasters, number 2 should be your army. So you should go 1, EMP, 2, a stim, attack, move. A lot easier than trying to tab through and make sure you have the right unit and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, later on in the game, this is kind of late in the game for what you're doing and how they are playing and all that kind of stuff and how you're playing, you might actually end up having more than the first 2 or 3 buttons as your army. It might end up being 4, 5, 6 and as your army. And then when you have time out of combat, you press 7, 8, 9 to do your production. What you'll see is at the pro level, if you ever watch a pro game and you watch their hotkeys, a lot of the time, this setup is normal until late game. And then when it starts to get ultra late game, they shift their production further over, or they because what they're doing is they are freeing up what their hands can reach. So they're able to access those units faster and then do the special commands. Like Liberators, right? Everybody knows what a Liberator is. You might want to have them in a different hotkey so that you can siege them up, and your tank's on the same hotkey so you can tab into them and hit that one key to siege them up, or in a different hotkey. You have your ghosts on a different hotkey in your army that's stimming on another hotkey. This is just hotkey management. This is something that you will eventually learn. I'm not very good at it, and I'm middle of Diamond 2, Diamond 1 area at skill level. That tells you how far I've gone without doing it very effectively. I'm simply saying if you want to start practicing now, this is not a bad time to do it. Back to the game. Production is a little soft, but that's because, well, you're busy in the fight. That's the only reason. As soon as you see a Colossi, Vikings. You need about, I'd say, per Colossi, 3 Vikings is a good number. Also, you should be able to see this blur. Here, let's look at your screen. Oops. Let's go back just a couple of seconds. All right. I have my settings turned all the way up. This is the worst way to see. Also, you've given yourself a really bad concave. But we know, there it is. There's the observer. Do you see how that little shimmer is right there? It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Can't see it there. There it is right there. Right there, right there, right there. Right? That's a scan. You can see it. Okay? I'm not necessarily saying that you have to be professional at it. I'm simply saying when you are in a game and you see that shimmer, it's okay to, like, scan your army. It's okay to scan where you think one is, and if you miss it, you miss it. It's okay, as long as you're not overly investing in those scans. All right, so we're at our 4th base here. You should be on 6 to 7 bases. Your opponent's on their 4th base, so you have the ability to shut them down and get them in a really, 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 really money-tight situation, which, oh boy, the scouting has been really lackluster. So you didn't know that this base was here until you literally walked into it. Again, A move. Don't walk in, A move. It's better to A move. Also focus down the shield battery. Oh, God, you're like walking into the choke where the storm is and sitting on top of it, and like you're A moving these units, which you can't A move them, and then that they just storm you really, really hard. Again, I'm surprised that you're going to lose this game, according to your description. Like, you just shut down their income. This is the only thing that they have left is their bank, this base, and that's about it, right? So what happened here was, you see that you stood in a choke. You've done that several times at this point. You need to be, like, it's okay to back up. If you had backed your army up so that you had a concave versus a choke point and a convex, you would have been, like, they had the curve, right? So this is about army. You're basically in a situation where army positioning essentially lost you the game, or at least lost you that army. So, like, you don't have to engage. It's okay to run away. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have either focused the pylon down or focused down the shield battery, then focused down the pylon. Probably the pylon first because it's an Artosis pylon. There was 2 cannons and a shield battery. Well, photon cannons are 150. Shield batteries are 150. Well, this pylon's only 200. You could have easily killed the pylon and not had any power for the shield battery to heal the photon cannons. Notice a theme here. Kill proton, the pylons. It supply blocks your opponent. It makes it so that they can't power their stuff, and it makes it so that you're in a really good position. At this point in the game, I would not bother dropping unless you are doing another attack. Right? Nope. Get away. Okay, cool. Woo! Trying to scare me here. Yep, drop right there. I would have dropped right there and killed as many probes as I could as I got my medevacs out. The main is useless at this point because they've mined it out. You don't want to bother with that. Unless you're trying to kill tech. Okay, you can kill the robotics bay. You can kill their cyber core, which would put this really, really, really far away. You can make it so that they can't get another, again, focus down these things. Take this army at the same time and attack this base, right? You can lose this army. No, I would have just kept fighting. I wouldn't have cared. Yeah, well, this is really good too. Just drop right here. Drop right here. Drop right here. You see the base. You know it's there. It's okay to lose this army because you have this huge army at home. All you have to do is replace your medevacs and make sure you establish another base. Get this base over here. Get this base down here. Establish that base. It's okay to lose that army because you have this army. Also, it looks like you have a lot of idle SCVs. What I would probably do is already have them long distance mining if you can't get the money to the base. Again, you built the base, you just need to move it to location. Late game Terran, it's okay to build like 3 or 4 command centers. Like if you put a command center here with a planetary, this base with an orbital, a planetary here, and a planetary here, you're never losing this base. Ever. Your opponent will avoid that base like the plague forever and ever and ever, and those minerals will be yours forever. Repair, mass, repair, mass, repair, mass, repair, mass, repair. Oh no, 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 no. Ghosts. You need like more ghosts out front. I like that. Actually, that was... You missed only 1 storm, 2 storms. Oh no, and then you're just walking into the Colossi. Oh no. The Colossi are what killed you, not the storm. You did a really good job with the energy. The Colossi, 22, 13, 7. The storms, 6, 3, 11, right? Oh man. Also, they had like 7 Templar. Yeah, they actually had 7. They actually were right on the money with that count. Okay. Let's talk about the good. Your early game build order is really, really good. Your mid game build order, I didn't quite follow it, and you spent a lot of time floating buildings when you should not spend a long time floating buildings, right? If you had been 2 hexes over with the Starport factory, you would have been able to be producing stuff that much faster and earlier. You have a floating problem. What I mean by that is you're floating resources a lot, and then suddenly you spend all of it, and you don't know that you're not making enough income to support what you've done. So what that means is basically you don't have enough bases. We talked about this. I don't need to keep harassing you on it. Your timing is questionable, and I say that softly. I do like the 2 Cyclone drop back here and getting 5 or 6 workers. That was really, really cool and really, really good. But you also had an army of Marines and stuff. If you had waited just maybe another 30 seconds to a minute to get 2 more medevacs, you could have attacked the front at the same time and killed so many more while you were doing that, or just straight up ended the game because you would have killed the army here, or put them in the decision, do I go to the front or do I go here? And a lot of people just fold. A lot of people at this level of skill fold. So, and then the next biggest thing is your positioning. You fought in a choke here. You fought in a choke here with your factory. You fought in your like pickups were a little questionable at points. Some of them were really good. Like, oh my god, yes, I love them pickups. And some of them were like, whoo, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just lost the army and sent the medevacs home. The way you send your medevacs, if you came in a certain way, rally them that way. So instead of flying over his third, which you know he has cannons at, because he had them when you attacked it earlier, send them to his hard fourth, and then rally them and shift-click them up. Make sure you're on top of your control with regards to your buttons, right? Why is your Reaper not on a hotkey? Right? Okay, you're using F2. Well, you don't want to F2 your Marines and stuff from here at your opponent. Also, at this very specific moment right now, you could be building a reactor or a tech lab or another Marine or a Reaper. Just period. You're just like, this is money that you have a floating SCV here. And I mean, I like everything else, right? But this is fine. But this should be doing something. Like, this is important. And depending on what timing and what you're trying to do, building a reactor might be the right play. Building the tech lab might be the right play. Or building, or canceling that SCV that was stacked here and getting another barracks or your a little bit faster would also work. Again, double bunker, not my favorite. I would definitely just snuggle one bunker like right here, maybe right here instead. SimCity gave you some hard times. I would suggest putting the buildings against a wall. Like if you had put your factory right here with the tech lab right here, that is going to give you this much more space than if you had this little chokehold that you've created here with the gap that was right here. So just be intentional with your positioning of your buildings. I love this scout. This is awesome. I would put it on patrol so it doesn't show up as an idle worker. I just patrol it right back and forth, right outside of their base. Just patrol right here. Just the patrol button. Click, click, click. You just click once. Click, patrol, done. If you watch, I believe my previous video, there was a Protoss, and what he was doing was a Max Pax proxy build. And what he is he patrolled a worker from here to here, essentially, in a different map, okay? Different positioning, all that kind of stuff. Which was really cool to have the probe go back in and check out what's going on and making sure that the wall was open, yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately for him, he was trying to do an aggressive proxy, and his opponent sniffed out the proxy because of that late game scout, versus if he had just taken that probe and harassed his opponent with it, or taken it home, or whatever. So just kind of like, my point is like, check for the timing of the third with that SCV. Set your SCV on patrol so you know when they're leaving their base, so on and so forth. Obviously, I've gone through a ton of stuff. I think you did a really awesome job in a lot of really good positions. You heard me saying, go do this. And it was like I read into your mind in the past. I haven't watched this before, right? This is all live. This is me going through with you, with my first time seeing it ever. So I want you to kind of think about how that, like, you're talking, you're using the brain of somebody that's in the upper diamonds, mid diamonds, and they're saying, go do this, and you're literally doing it. So your thought process is there. You just got to clean up the balance of your resources, make sure you're getting those expansions early enough. You outproduced, had the bigger army most of the game. You could have, there are so many times that you could have won that if you did not fight in chokes. If you had waited a moment or two for Storm to complete and ran away versus trying to fight into it. If you had expanded more, those 3 or 4 things, that would have been an easy W. I foresee you coming back in about a month's time, being big middle of Diamond 2. Maybe Diamond 1. Assuming you take all these things to heart, you really adjust your build order, you really hit your timings really well, you balance your income correctly, and you make sure that you're expanding at an aggressive enough rate while continue to scout. I forgot to mention that you need to scout more often. You scouted really well at the beginning, and then you kind of let them do whatever they wanted after they got their natural. Mind you, your aggression was pretty good, which actually helped a lot with regards to what was going on, to find out what was going on. But your doom drops are a little much. Like, you don't need to drop as much. You can just walk across a lot, and that would have helped you a lot, helped you out quite a few times with regards to interactions that you were fighting. Because, for example, that Zealot with the Warp Prism was not fun for you. Regardless, really good game. I really appreciate you submitting. And I look forward to seeing what other games you actually end up deciding to have me cast and look at. And I'm excited to see where you go with all the information I've given you, all the practice you're clearly putting in. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.